The Roman standards captured by Rex and his forces now lined the walls of the Eagle Fort. Seeing these achievements, and how Rex's connection to Aelius Maximus allowed him to pass freely through the Roman provinces, Corbed of the Caledonian coalition gave him command of the northern war host. With nearly 1,000 men, Rex set off south to finally pay his allies back for their hospitality, and to search for Regni, the Emperor, and the false heir Commodus. News of their approach arrived in Rome before they had even left Britannia. In the imperial palace, Emperor Aurelius gave out orders to his household staff in hushed tones, then rushed to the southern balcony alone. There, the first hot day of spring fell down upon the palace women. Maids, concubines, hostages, and imperial kinswomen all waited nervously for the result of the men's emergency meeting. All bowed their heads as Aurelius marched onto the scene, all but 3 women on the balcony's edge, one of whom wore a golden crown and richly coloured fabrics, with the other 2 standing like statues on her flanks.
"The rebel is on his way. You will all leave the city with Commodus and go south for your own safety," the emperor said.
No one responded, but to agree or disagree with an emperor was of no consequence either way. Next to speak was an approaching Commodus, bringing with him the approaching clatter of a good 20 Praetorian guards. "The pretender will be here soon. You can leave your things. We'll be returning shortly anyway," he said. The women filed through the overgrown pillars into the palace, with those same 3 from before not joining them. "Regni, you too," Commodus insisted, but Aurelius shot him a look that stifled any more insistences. The group left, and as they did, the leader of the remaining 3 removed the crown from her head and yanked at her hair, undoing the bun so that it fell loose below her shoulders like a barbarian. Aurelius seemed somewhat taken aback by this behaviour, but knew better than to demand explanation.
"What will you do with Rex?"
she asked.
"I will bring him to you, I promise,"
Aurelius said. The pair embraced, with Regni's handmaidens averting their eyes. Regni pressed the crown into the Emperor's hands.
"I'll wear it again if you keep your promise,"
she said. Then she reached around to his back and drew out his hidden blade.
"In case Commodus,"
she explained, stepping away. The Emperor seemed almost moved to tears, but drew in a deep breath and suddenly took a walk around the balcony to drive them away.
"I don't know if you've doomed my empire or saved it," he said.
Hello there, welcome back to Rex Romanum. We've taken the Caledonian coalition's main force down to Italy, and we've met a Roman field army. Their cavalry was quickly dispatched, then we dispatched the enemy officer with a quick charge out from Rex. That looks good. Now it's time for the main portion of the fight, where our 2 blocks of infantry, both formed up into squares, will push at each other at the front, while I direct my cavalry to make rear attacks. At first though, they're actually going after these archers, who I hadn't noticed. Since they were sort of below a rise, they weren't really firing at us very much. We'll quickly slaughter them, mainly just to free up the cav, and then charge into the back of the infantry. As it happened though, the enemy infantry routed while they were fighting with our squares, and now we'll slaughter a few of them, but we can't completely chase them off the field because another wave of enemy troops appears. I quickly order my men to reform. You can see plenty of my cav there have lost their horses, so they're now walking backwards after dismounting. Here's another infantry square coming at us, so we need to get ready for that. Came over here myself to take a little peek and to take down some of these annoying archers. Luckily with my horse armor we can take loads of arrows, so it's relatively safe to be rampaging among the enemy skirmishing lines. Now once this block of infantry reached our men, they kind of routed as well. They suddenly started pulling back, so I charged in with the cav and raided them as they moved backwards. I don't think they were actually routing, they were just changing their position to go back towards where they deployed and link up with reinforcements. Seeing that, we're going to order the cav to cool off that attack and now reform once again for a 3rd phase to this battle. Now the infantry square comes to attack our square, and our cav are just obviously setting up behind them. Thought I'll give my horse a rest and practice a bit of archery here into the enemy's nice, easy to hit target, and then bang, we hit them with the cav from behind. With this done, it's time for the slaughter. The infantry are killing from the front, the cav from behind, and Rex in particular is right in this mess, just slashing away, and because the enemy are trying to move rather than fight, they just die. Like, their shields don't count as defending them, so you can just slash wildly at them and get loads of damage and kills, and soon the enemy army is absolutely annihilated. Here's the final result. We lost only 3 men from our own party, and only about 20 overall across all of the coalition forces. The enemy lost their whole army of about 200, and Rex got 30 kills personally, contributing quite a lot to that fight. There was a quick second phase to the battle because some 30 troops were still alive, so we had to fight them separately. Nothing much to say there, we just ran right at them and overwhelmed them. We've captured the enemy leader, but you may remember my new policy is to let all enemy officers go, because this will make all the Roman officers like us, which may come in useful later on. With the enemy's field army destroyed, we marched freely right down to Rome. Inside there are 450 men, so it's going to be no easy thing to get in here, but that's what we're here to do. We're going to start going through the stages of setting up a siege on the city. First we entrench our camp, so now that we've got a fortified base to live in. Then there's the option to improve your camp and give it sanitation facilities. I presume this prevents random events just killing all of your guys, so we're going to want to do that. Agasicles will sort it out for 14 hours while we wait around, and as we wait, we can see one of the issues with trying to lead troops that are commanded by other officers, and that is that they often go off of their own volition and fight things elsewhere. Also, we're still getting these random deaths due to the enemy sallying out. To prevent that, we have to completely surround the city, but we can't do that because we actually lost so many men in that random event. We're now under the random cap of 200, and your allied officers don't count. Clearly the whole sieging thing isn't going very well, but really we're here for a city assault. We have to construct various pieces of equipment, and you can also construct mantlets, which allows you to set up the equipment without taking so many losses. And once all that's done, it will unlock the ability for us to storm the walls. Rome was surrounded by a high stone wall, topped with archers and punctuated by cramped towers filled with armoured swordsmen. A mere 100 metres outside the main gate was the palisade wall of Rex's siege fort, inside which he met with his faithful engineer Agasicles. "Well, you're in luck actually," he was saying. "I happen to know already exactly how high those walls are, for I've directed repairs on them on more than one occasion. I need only calculate the height we need for the ladders, and we can get the boys right where they need to be. Since you are such a good customer, my lord, I'll even give you a little discount." Rex's men busied themselves carving wood for the ladders, while the Caledonian forces patrolled the countryside for materials and enemy detachments. It was a few days of sitting around for Rex himself, mostly spent atop a watchtower inspecting the enemy. One evening Aethna climbed up to join him. "You see that long building on the hill with the orange banner?" she said. It was hard to see the building in the failing light, but the banner was clear enough. "That is the Imperial Palace. Regni must have been kept in there." "She could be there right now," Rex said, straining as if there was a chance of actually seeing her. "I am afraid that the orange banner means the Imperial family is not there. It is red when they are present. Wouldn't you flee in their shoes?" "Romans don't wear shoes, Doc," Pillow said, appearing over the top of the ladder. "Are the latrines in order?" Rex immediately asked. "Yes, they're in bloody order. But don't take my able administration as a sign that I'm the man for the job every time." Pillow pointed up at the palace. "Once we're in, we'll put the red banners up again, eh?" "What? That's not why I'm here," Rex said. Aethna and Pillow shared a wry look and a chuckle. "This cheeky bugger's at it again," Pillow said. "For Maximus, I mean. By the gods." "Oh yes, of course," Rex said. "We'll see, won't we?" "Don't like the sound of that," Pillow remarked before sliding back down the ladder. "When we're done, we'll go find her," Aethna said, prompting a nod from Rex. "One last ordeal to survive," he said. We arrive onto the walls of Rome, and it's a chaotic scene. Our men are taking down the archers and heavy infantry guarding these walls, and because there's not much space, we can't get by them, so we can't help out very much. I thought maybe going to the left of the ladder would help, thought no, and then tried the right again. The tower was all clogged, so I thought okay, I will try going to the left, at least there's a bit of open space. I managed to get around some of my own men and get up to the other end of the wall where enemy archers were still active, and I helped them slay these guys. So now we've captured all of the wall at this point, presuming our group going to the right of the ladder also was successful. There are some stairs down into the city, and from here we have to run from the south end of the wall all the way back up to the north end in order to link back up with our troops. Indeed, we eventually find that they've come down some stairs right up at the other end of the wall, so we can reunify and take down the last few enemies in the area. Our men are all defending up towards those windows. It's because there are enemies on a little parapet that we can't really see just on top of the roof. The archers coming over the wall are currently firing at them. We'll have to not concern ourselves with that. We're going to deal with the infantry in the streets. I form up at this nearby junction and wait for the infantry who are charging towards us to arrive so that our archers up on the wall will be able to support in this fight. I'm shooting a few arrows out myself, which is going to do absolutely nothing against the advancing shield wall, but you never know. Once the enemy are close, I give the order to charge, and a brawl will begin right there. I've got my companions in here with me, going to direct them to get slightly out of the way in case the enemy suddenly bursts through, and I'm going to order the cavalry and archers to come ready to support this fight. This one enemy gets through the line, and we just about cut him down before he hits us. That looks good. Then I moved up to take a look at what was going on, and surprisingly things are going really well. What appears to be happening is the enemy are turning round as they reach our lines because a couple of our guys are stuck around the corner in that little garden. So the enemy troops are trying to face them and are just being slaughtered from behind by our main group. As a result, that big block of troops is taken down and we can advance, but there are plenty more enemies awaiting us in the city. They're streaming from some reinforcement point further up the hill, off to our right somewhere, and are coming into this little courtyard. I decide to form up here and make this the point where we defend, so we'll take the enemy down as they come around the corner. I almost get myself into a sticky situation here, but I'm able to back away from that fight. We're starting to run low on infantry though. At around this point it's our cavalry dismounted doing a lot of the fighting. We killed many of the enemies who arrived at first, but it was just a small group. There were plenty more still to come, and we can see them gradually building up on the edge of the corner here. Seeing how many enemies there were, I started thinking about falling back, because we need our heavy infantry to fight with the enemy's Roman legionaries. All these dismounted cav and archers will be at quite the disadvantage in these melees, so first we just need to clear up the few enemies already facing us, then we'll be free to move. Rex himself will have to suffice for that, and very quickly we do slaughter a whole load of guys. This guy was giving me some trouble, but eventually we're through him. We clear up the line and can gather our troops together once again. But more enemies are still spawning. You see on the minimap there's just loads of them streaming towards us, so we do need to get out of here ASAP. Just going to kill these last few enemies and then off we go. The problem we have is that while we wait for our allied reinforcements to find us, they have to come over the ladders and around the walls and down those stairs in the corner of the map. So it takes them a very long time to come and support us, and by this point we've lost not only all of the infantry but pretty much all of the cav as well. I pulled back with the archers, and the cav getting killed provided some distraction, so we had some time. You can see, or we saw them just for a second there, our reinforcements pouring over the wall in the background, but they're still nowhere to be seen around here. I tried to save these couple of cavalrymen from these advancing Roman legionaries, but quickly got swarmed and taken down myself, so that was stupid. Probably should have just kept retreating with everyone else. At around this point though, our reinforcements are going to arrive to take part in the fight, so it's not all over. Our companions buy us a few seconds, fighting against the few enemies that had advanced all the way over here, although Maximus isn't really taking part, as you can see. And with that, our heavy infantry now stream in to take part in the fight once again. However, shortly after they arrived, I decided to order a general retreat, because the enemy still have hundreds of troops. We don't want to fight them while I'm not here, because things will probably go badly. Here's the eventual result. We lost 15 men, 40 if you include the wounded, but we will be able to get those guys back. And our allies lost about 80 men. The enemy lost over 200 troops killed. I think we did lose more than the enemy overall if you include wounded, but because we're going to be waiting around a little bit, and because we have good party skills that allow us to heal wounds fast, we'll soon make up that difference. We are, though, losing men to desertion because our morale is low. Retreating from battle lowers your morale, so that's not very useful right now. Plus, as it turns out, you can't just go in for a second wave like I planned. You have to rebuild all of the siege equipment, so we have to wait for several days for that to happen. And now we'll face issues coming from the fact that our guys following us, the allied lords, only follow you for a certain amount of time, and that amount of time just happens to be expiring about now. As the Caledonian army rushed back out of the gate they had spent all day capturing, a cheer was heard from within the city. The Romans returned to their walls, threw the bodies of the Caledonian dead unceremoniously down around the bases of the ladders, then threw torches to burn flesh and wood alike. An easterly wind brought the smoke into Rex's siege camp, and most refused to leave what protection their tents offered from that horrid stench. Those that did venture outside ventured far indeed. Rex regained consciousness to find that a nobleman had taken a good 100 men with him to return to Britannia, not to mention a score or more of his personal troops having disappeared on their own initiative. News of Rex's stirring brought Vist storming into his tent.
"Why did you sound the retreat? We had them!"
he said, blood leaking out between the chainmail links on his stomach. While Rex had no answer, Eadfrith, who sat with Aithna over a squirming pillow on the bed beside Rex, decided to intervene.
"My lord, I think you'll find it was the Roman who ordered the retreat."
"Roman?"
"General Maximus. Did you see him out there?"
"No, I didn't."
"Well, he was there, in body at least. Our man here took an arrow for him," Eadfrith said, indicating the wound on Pullo's shoulder.
"For old time's sake," the soldier remarked. "You made a mistake then," Vist said, calming down. "Brienne and his boys have packed it in. What's the plan?"
"Nothing different. We attack," Rex said. Vist patted him on the shoulder.
"Good."
He walked out, with Aithna hurriedly standing to follow him with fresh bandages.
"He was like a statue," Eadfrith said. "Just stood there while the bodies fell around him. Is he really a famous general?"
"Yep, that's him all right. Famous for what the likes of me did for him," Pillow said. "That's just how it works. Makes me wonder if now we'll get a word of thanks in the end."
Rex glared at him with a rare anger. Pillow let out something between a laugh and a cough.
"He still thinks I'm talking about him," he said.
"Pretty sure our damsel Doc deserves the thanks for anything you achieved since a long time ago," Eadfrith said.
Here we are then with part 2 of the previous battle, essentially just doing it again, but slightly easier this time. I had a bit of a difficult entry to the city after I jumped over the wall and got spotted by a lone enemy archer, but we dealt with him. Then I ordered the men to stand really close together and form up in that street we were fighting in before, to form a blockade. Then our archers on the wall and myself sitting up on this roof can provide a bombardment of arrows at the advancing enemy heavy infantry. Not sure how effective this actually was. Eventually I climbed down to come and join the fight, but when I arrived we'd already won. Our men did quite well slaughtering the enemy. I think once again they were somewhat distracted as they advanced because of our weird formation. We pushed forwards into the main street of the city where there were more enemies, but not that many more enemies. I think in this battle I actually didn't see the majority of it because while I was just wandering around the streets our men were absolutely slaughtering the enemy. And there we go, we've just won. We didn't really participate or see very much of it, as I said, but we defeated around 200 enemies apparently at some point, and we did only take a few casualties to achieve it. So another good battle, much shorter and much easier than the last one, even though it didn't look that much easier at first. And with that, we have actually taken Rome. Got some prisoners to free now that we're here, many of whom we can bring into our party to replace all of the losses we took. And now I'm going to ask Corbett to give Rome to me. He technically owns it for the meantime, but we'll see if he wants to give it to me. That said, that's not going to turn out to be a very important request, as we'll see in just a second. The Gaetulians are apparently outraged by this and decide to attack Roman Gallia. Not sure why it told me that right then. What we need to do is wait around in Rome for the inevitable Roman counterattack, and Roman forces arrive right away, so we won't have to wait for long. We've got a couple of issues though. One is that our allied armies are busy running about the place doing, well, not much by the looks of things, pursuing villagers, running away from the enemy forces, all helpful things. And then, as it turns out, while I thought I was in the settlement and would get to defend the walls against the enemy counterattack, thus amplifying my power, In fact, the enemy just take it. I'm not really sure what happened there. They just completely ignored my party and I run free. Then the Roman armies jump back into the city, and now there are hundreds of enemy troops in there. We've actually ended up with a situation that's even worse than the one we had before we started besieging Rome. So all of a sudden, we've made some back progress, and I'm not sure if that was because of a glitch or not. There is still hope for us though. One option we have is to wait some distance from the city, so that the armies inside might wander off somewhere not seeing us, and then we can sneak back and attack it without that large garrison. So I go ahead and wait around with our allies, but the enemy actually come out of the city and attack us during the night. Things are okay though, because the main force under Aurelius runs away just as the battle starts. That means I can pile in here to fight with Fur, and we'll have numbers on our side against Tatius right here. So an easy battle to start things off. We move up with the usual square formation of infantry. What I tried to do though was move my archers around to the flank to shoot into the side of the enemy's square. However, the enemy cavalry charged when my archers were exposed, and now they're in trouble. I countered with my own cav and myself, actually managing to block most of the enemy's attacks, so our archers will be okay now. We quickly take out the Roman cav, and I even very cruelly accidentally killed that horse for no reason. Anyway, going to call the cav back now so we can form up and start moving into battle. There was a problem though. While that was happening, my infantry had charged off and already started fighting the enemy, which I didn't realise. And looking back at the footage, it's because there was some feature where my infantry were ordered to attack the enemy archers when I gave them a movement order. Not quite sure how it works, but there's something going on if you order your men to move close to the enemy. It starts giving them attack orders as well. So we had to fall back, long story short, and we did fall back successfully, reforming our men into their square, and we got back to the usual 2 squares of infantry, just hacking at each other situation, which is perfect for Rex, who can hang around at the back, trying to slash away at distracted enemies. I was still at this point trying to get my archers to outflank the enemy and shoot into their side, but the fight was progressing quite fast, and it was clear that this would take a long time doing this archer thing, so I thought, let's just charge everyone into the blob, surround the enemy and try to slaughter them even if we can't rout them. And things go well. The enemy indeed don't rout, they fight to the end, but surrounded by our heavy archers, they now have no chance, with the heavy infantry also pressing against their front. There we go then, we've taken out the enemy army. Moderate casualties on our side, and it certainly could have gone a bit better, but nothing too bad compared to the casualties the enemy took, especially because a lot of our guys were just wounds. The whole enemy army is gone. Fur is happy that we helped him out in that battle, that's handy, and we also captured the enemy commander, but as usual we're going to let him go so that all those Roman nobles like Rex. With the battle won, we needed to see what Aurelius's army was going to do. It at first moved back to Rome, but then it started wandering off somewhere else. So this was perfect, this was exactly what I was waiting for. Now we can rally our forces to attack Rome again, and if they keep walking off somewhere, the main force that is, we'll be fine to get back into the city. Doesn't quite work though, because the guys following you, your allied commanders, will just do things of their own volition, and this includes first starting a battle with Aurelius where he's outnumbered. Now we're going to have to go and help him. At first I almost made a mistake, because if I started the battle now, Vist wouldn't be taking part in it, since reinforcements are only calculated for new battles starting, so we just need to wait a bit. Maximus seems to be quite against actually going into battle, but he has no choice. We're going to follow Vist and have a decisive battle against the Emperor and the Roman main force. This turned out to be quite a long and laborious battle despite our apparent numerical advantage, so we'll get into talking about this next time, I think. Several Roman armies had been laid to rest, and Rome itself had played host to the Caledonian force for a few nights. There was no sign of Regni or Commodus, but the Emperor Aurelius returned to reclaim the city. Then he took to the field to face Rex and his allies in open battle. It was time to finally meet the man behind Regni's captivity, and show him the strength of the family he broke apart. That is it then, thank you very much for watching, and special thanks to all OfficiallyDevin patrons. We'll be forced to change our angle on our battle with Rome, especially after they whip out a secret weapon in the next episode of Rex Romanum.